that would have walking trails, have trees, I would choose a PRD. So I don't see how removing the PRD is going to make this more desirable. Also, you know, we have a lot of animals back there. You know, what's going to happen to the deer? The deer, the bear we have, the fox we have, you know.
Okay.
All right, well, PRD is a much desirable.
I'm not trying to rush you, but we need to go ahead and close.
Okay. You know, I'll just say that, you know, I said that I'd like to, you know, be involved and help with, you know, with this. I was instrumental in writing the Code of Virginia for the Division of Securities for years. And I was told, oh, you're going to have plenty enough time to get input. I mean, we had the meeting a couple days ago that you got to ask a few questions and didn't even get a chance to read the document. And then today I only have 4 or 5 minutes, and town council I'm only going to have 3 minutes. Where do I have time to make my concerns known? And I request that the Planning Commission give us time to review this. And it's based on an outdated plan, comprehensive plan. I ask that you never involve the stakeholders, though I have asked over and over and over again with Governor's Hill. Please, have meetings with us. And you know, it has never happened. We don't get to give our input.
Okay, in all fairness, we need to move to the next now. Thank you, though. I appreciate your input. Our next speaker is William Pulkowski.
I'm not going to take the full 4 or 5 minutes since my wife said a lot of things that I was going to say. I do have handouts for each of you, and I'm not going to read them verbatim. You can look at them. Here, I have one for you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a handout with an attachment. It'll kind of clarify what my wife was talking about our 10-foot backyards and the proposal to lower the setbacks of backyards on 5 feet.
Thank you.
Do you need another one?
I'll make sure she has it for the record.
Well, I'll try not to repeat everything, but just in general, on item number 1, the backyards for R1s, town-wide being reduced by 50%. I mean, I can understand in some cases in the town where you have some existing lots next to houses that are already kind of close together, 25 feet is no big deal. I guess the concern I have is saying that it's a blanket. You're reducing it by 50% down to 25. And the real concern, especially when you get into our neighborhood, is where you have parcels that are back-to-back backyards. My backyard abuts with a vacant land that somebody else can build upon, and if it's going to be an R1, then they're going to have a setback of 25. And in town, maybe that's okay, where you have houses already close together as it is. But my understanding of what you're proposing is town-wide. In cases where a house already exists, someone new as an R1 can have only 25 feet between the back face of their house and the end of their property line. So I won't get into any more just the general stuff, but I'd like you to look over the next couple things. With the existing PRDs with no approval, and the plan recommended is to revert to R1, the combination of those two together is what makes a problem for Governor's Hill. So if you take a look at the attachment, it is the plan that was approved by the town and by the county, because when Governor's Hill was being developed, things kind of ping-pong back and forth between the town and the city. There are a number of single-family homes that we physically have only a 10-foot backyard. And then there are some townhomes up into the cul-de-sac, which a couple have only a couple feet. I mean, they basically walk off their little concrete pad and they're no longer on the property. So I just wanted you to really be aware that there may be some other parcels in the town that are as bad as us, but I haven't found any. So if you implement this and the parcel behind us is currently a PRD, it'll revert to an R1. We are very concerned that somebody will be allowed to build houses back-to-back backyards, and basically we'll have a face of one house 35 foot from my back porch. I think it makes our neighborhood a lot less desirable if that happens. So that's really items 3, 4, and 5 give you more details on our concern. And there's, like I said, there's 6 single-family homes, and there's 10 or 11, it depends. I couldn't get to the GIS system to really do distances because the county GIS system isn't fully working because of the reversion. On item number 6, I'm kind of like another believer that it's not a bad idea to have something like a PRD district. My wife already said we've lived in multiple PRDs in multiple states and multiple towns. I would wish that you could keep the PRD as an optional thing for R1, because when I look at the PMD, if you read the PMD, you would never think you could do something like a PRD. And there are, I think, still uses for PRDs. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, maybe I like the American dream kind of a neighborhood, but to me the PMD is a lot more like what some people are calling like new urbanism. And I know there is a community out in Lynchburg called Cornerstone Neighborhood. And I've gone out to look at it, and it's kind of nice, but you have to really kind of like to live in a city. It's residential, but it's, to me, much, much more high density. And some of the mixed uses, for some people, I think they probably wouldn't like. Some people do like living next to restaurants and bars and all that, but I don't know why you couldn't still keep a PRD, improve some of the wording in it if you needed to, giving people an option. And then the last thing my wife already talked about, I realize that a lot of work's been put into the document. It's a very complex document, 190 pages, maps, all kind of things. But we just wanted to make sure you understood, for us who are retired and have more time than a lot of other people, I don't know if a lot of town citizens really had the time to do anything. We had like 4 days to look at things and then go to the informational. And we didn't even really review the whole document, which we normally do. I think Mr. Schoen knows that anytime we come here, we spend hours looking at things. We just didn't have the time.
Okay.
So I'd just like you to keep in mind that you're reviewing and changing 40-year-old zoning, and I don't understand what the hurry is to rush it and get it all done within 40 days. I think there were less than 40 people that came to the informational session, but I think 4,000 notices were sent out. So it wasn't a lot of people. Even today,
Right.
not many people. Just people don't have time. And it was short notice.
All right, no, thank
But I
you.
appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Next, we have Will Berry.
I'm not used to being in this position. First of all, I'd like to say that I admire the town for what they've done. The ordinance, the existing ordinance was enacted probably in the 60s or earlier, 60s, I think. And it had, things have changed and it needed to be brought up to date. And I think the administration from time to time have tried to tinker with it, but too much water's over the bridge, and then things needed to be changed. And I think that having the total work by you planning, somebody you planning ideas was a great idea. And I compliment the council and the planning commission. I was particularly, I had always particularly found the PRD to be a difficult thing to deal with, especially where it was just raw land and it was PRD, and they didn't have to get a plan beforehand, and almost anything could go. There were no real restrictions, so I think the elimination of that probably is a good thing. It just has to be replaced with something else. My main concern is with the homestays. And I wrote down some things. I looked up homestays, regulations in other areas. I've stayed at homestays. I saw things which I regarded as needed attention. My main concern was that and maybe I did not catch some things, but maybe there are details in there that are in other places that I just didn't catch. But I think that there are a lot of restrictions that should be set forth in guidelines, and that it just not be a conditional use permit and leave it up to the planning commission, the developer, to come up with his own restrictions. And I could mention a few of them, and maybe some of them are you've already adjusted. But I think that you ought to have specific conditions applied to these homestays, only permitted in single-family dwellings, not in townhouses, duplexes, apartments, or condominium complexes, in residential districts only. And I have looked at some of these provisions in other towns, Virginia Beach, Richmond, Alexandria, Roanoke, smaller places too. And I think that you need to have some specific conditions put in the ordinance so that people who come to it know what the requirements are, and the people who operate do. They don't have to go through the book and look for them.
All right, Mr. Berry, I thank you. I got to move on to the next one.
Just through the list. Posting provisions for off-street parking, posting of addresses at the driveways so emergency vehicles know where to go, smoke alarms, maybe that's already required in building codes, emergency evacuation plans displayed. All of these things should be in the zoning administrator's office. At least one renter is 18 years, and a limitation of the number of adults, limitation of the number of guests, the persons staying at the homestay, limitation of outside activities, noise and lighting after set hours that could disturb adjoining residents, requirement of liability insurance, and issuance of provisions for permits and inspections. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Berry.
I did write it all down, so I try to limit myself.
I
Thank you very
understand.
much.
No, thank you. Next, we have Hope Metzger.
Good evening. I am Hope Metzger, the owner of Magnolia Mountain Realty on Longwood Avenue and Appalachian Homes, same building. Previously, I was here requesting to change my building zoning from a R1 to I think a B1 is the request. Since then, I really don't need to make accommodations for tiny homes because I've made other arrangements for that type of thing. However, I have worked very hard on this business that I bought as a foreclosure, renovated it. I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in this business. I have a mortgage lender, a settlement attorney, and we sell over $25 million worth of property from that little foreclosure building that used to be a florist. So today, I would like for you to consider changing my business that was a florist for 30-plus years, business, retail, back to be business, because we don't sleep there. And no one's going to rent it out for a Airbnb. But I may like to sell Magnolia Mountain Realty sweatshirts. I may like to sell something. It's not for me, but it is for all of the people that are included in the business that we have. We have 14 realtors who make money in this business. We have home inspectors. We have insurance people. We have contractors who do repairs to all of these houses in the community that make them money. We have electricians, we have plumbers, we have photographers. I mean, we service many people and businesses in this community. It's not a thing for me. It's to flourish the business that we have. It's nothing about me, because me is my whole, employment of the people that work there and their families, to grow their families in this town that we love. So I can only ask you to please reconsider the zoning for the business that I bought was a B1. And since I didn't sell anything but real estate at the time that I purchased it, changed to a R1. And so that is my request, please, and I thank you for considering that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Andrew Catlin. Did I say that right?
Yes, no extra I in there. I'm Andrew Catlin. I live at 1708 Wycliffe Street. The main issue I have a couple issues. In section 201 of the changes, it says that the Planning Commission is looking to preserve our agricultural and forestal areas. In the annexation of the North Hills area, not you, the town council, and AP, which is agricultural preserve, AR land, agricultural residential, and an AV, which is an agricultural village. That all got changed to an R1 under the town, under what you're proposing. The agricultural preserve area, all lots are 1.5 acres, 65,000 square feet. Under the agricultural reserves, they're 43,560 square feet, 1 acre. You changed that all to 10,000 square feet. If the health department takes a look at it, according to the changes that are made in that you're proposing, the health department will look at each individual house, and the only thing they're looking at is, does it have safe water and adequate sewage? They don't care about the lot size. I live in an R1 district under the county rules. I had public water, but not, and a septic tank. My minimum lot size was 21,780 under the county rules. Your rules are 10,000 square feet, no matter what. I'm not sure the infrastructure will stand for 4 houses per acre up in that area. That's all I have to say.
Okay, no, thank you. And then our last speaker is Judith Garrett.
Oh, mine's already been answered.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. At this time, we will close the public hearing, as that is all that we had signed up for the hearing this evening. I appreciate you all coming out and speaking. We'll move down our list here. As soon as I get the right piece of paper in front of me.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
do want to point out that you've been provided written copies of some comments, all the copies that I've received, the comments I've received to date to that. So you have a letter from Lamar Advertising. They had a concern about the change from, for non-conforming signs, where the code as it was written says 2 years to rebuild a non-conforming. We're not talking about legal, we're talking about non-conforming signs that have been destructed, come down by whatever means. That did say 2 years, and your recommendation was that it be put to 6 months to make sure that these nonconformities were put back in a timely fashion and did not lay on the ground with no end time for that. So he wanted to express his concern with that on behalf of Lamar. And I did let him know that you did have a specific conversation about signs, and you had a very specific conversation about changing the 2 years to 6 months for that reason. He did want to point out there are 4 billboards in the town owned by Lamar. I'm not aware of other companies that haven't, but they do at least have those 4. You also have the copy of Mr. Berry's comments on the homestay short-term rental. You have some comments from another resident about the homestays as well, in some parts reflecting the agreement that it should be regulated. But their other comment was that this should be equalized with the bed and breakfast regulations. I'm not sure what the meaning of that was, but that these should be treated equally, whichever they are for the effect. And we did have a comment about the standards in the M1 zoning district related to noise, which was not a conversation that you had about the standards in the M1 zoning district, other than to allow new uses, but nothing recommended for change for noise. But I wanted to share that with you. That's all I have for your additional public comments.
All right, moving to new business. Do we have a motion for the Bedford Town Code zoning redraft?
For the purpose of getting discussion, because I was going to recommend, I was going to consider adding an amendment via motion, but for the purpose of getting the discussion out there, we'll move to recommend.
I will second.
Okay. Discussion.
Discussion. I mean, obviously, I mean, the concerns are all valid and understood. What's hard is, you know, I understand the concern about, hey, this just happened, but obviously, I mean, I've been on, I don't even know, it's 7 years I've been on the Planning Commission, I think. I'm not sure. It's been a while. So this has actually been something that's been taking a while just to get to this point.
And the meetings were public.
Right.
You could have been-
Everything is public. So and we all have jobs, and, you know, it's hard to go knock on everyone's door all the time and tell them what we're doing. So when I got on the Planning Commission, it was clear to me that the zoning ordinance was a mess and it needed to be cleaned up. So that was the main thing, just clean it up. Now, as far as what to do and where, sure, we need public input on that, and by no means is this perfect. I know that. But we all have different opinions up here too, so it's sort of like this compromise we reached that, you know, compromises are not pretty sometimes. Personally, I fully agree with Mr. Berry on the homestays. I don't think they should be in R1 at all. I hope I've made some headway with my colleagues up here. I don't know. So that would be my amendment that I'll make in a minute, to take it out of R1 altogether and to add the conditions that Mr. Berry discussed elsewhere. I do think we need them. In fact, I think there are some happening anyways right now in Centertown. I think in those areas, that's where those belong. You know, I think it's, especially with what the council's done over the last few years, as far as we have a new hotel coming. We have 2 new hotels, the boutique hotel and then I forget the brand. It was a Marriott. Which one are we getting? I forget what it is. It's a big hotel.
Hilton Garden Inn.
It's yeah, by,
Hampton.
so anyways, and that's another thing to consider with Airbnbs. You know, that's going to eat into that. And we're trying to promote hotels here now. So again, I am against them in the R1 zone. I think they do go against the existing comprehensive plan. As far as there being a new comprehensive plan, yes, it does need to be tweaked. I don't see a full overhaul in the comprehensive plan, but I'm not going to be on council or the Planning Commission at that time, so who knows what's going to happen there. I agree. I like our town as it is, but we do need some growth. We can't have no growth. So in these compromises on the setbacks and so forth, these were compromises, like, well, we can't make it too difficult for builders either. So, again, not perfect.
And
No-
it's not, you know, the 25-foot setback, it's not like, you know, you're going to have 1,000 houses come into Bedford.
Right.
But
It's
you have
not
somebody.
mandatory, it's minimum.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're not having, this isn't done for creation of, let's have a specific builder we have in mind that's going to come to Bedford and build all these houses. That's not what the setbacks are for. But at the same time, I've been in the building, I've been in the construction, I've been in the development, I've been in all these things. I think great things are like in Windhurst. Bedford doesn't have that kind of property to do those developments. It just doesn't have that. I've lived in Seattle, I've lived all over the place. I love those concepts. I like the idea of me being able to live somewhere and go walk to the neighborhood restaurant. They're great. That's not what this town is. This town is a town that we just don't have land to do this unless you said, let's just bulldoze a lot of the stuff. Let's bulldoze neighborhoods, and that's not going to happen.
And we know.
So, I mean, the setbacks for me are like, you know, what if I had a house that I couldn't build something because of a setback? I wanted to add a master bathroom, couldn't do it because it doesn't meet the zoning code. So, I mean, I understand it's going to affect some people maybe worse than others, but we're trying to take the overall picture and empower the residents to be able to build that mother-in-law suite, to build that accessory dwelling. So it's not like we understand like where you're coming from, but we try to take all of this and make a compromise, because there are people that want to build onto their house that can't. And, you know, like I said, we've done the best that we can. I'm for homestays because this is not Smith Mountain Lake. I don't see people coming here to party and go crazy and get drunk and act crazy. I just don't. But I don't think it's fair for me to say you as a homeowner can't do with your property how you choose to. I think there needs to be rules and regulations. I think people are scared that it's going to turn into a free-for-all and craziness, and I don't believe that. I don't think Bedford people are coming here to party and go nuts like they do at the lake.
It's not just that. I look at it like when I first bought my house on College Street. I was in 34 or 5 years old, young family. If I had known there was an Airbnb next door, I wouldn't have bought it.
I understand.
And I think it's going to have a chilling effect on young families, which is what we want, on buying homes. I mean, why would you? It's a hotel.
But
We
if
have
some-
zoning for hotels, not in residential neighborhoods.
But I know somebody that has a house that has a full furnished basement that they can rent out and make money to supplement their income because they don't make a lot of money. So I'm just saying, I understand where you're coming from, because I don't want to live next door to that like craziness. I don't. But I've lived next door to people in town that have a junkyard that like been allowed to have junk all over their house. And I mean, you know, so it's.
And we have a lot of the homestays
No.
already in R1 that aren't able to pay the
I don't know that they're
the
lawfully.
taxes. No, they're not.
Right.
But
so
they've actually come in to pay taxes.
But we're
and
trying to
we
make it
can't take
lawful.
them because it's not legal.
But I
think-
agree with Mr. Barry. I mean, I agree with, because I didn't even think about the 18 years of age.
It's in there.
It's
Oh,
in
is it?
there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of what
That's the
Mr.
one
Berry's
thing that, you know,
parents.
I missed.
Right. I don't want to defer to Airbnb and hope they keep our town nice.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's up to
understand.
us, you know, and
I mean, I think the purpose of the homestay is to give people the ability to go on a vacation, you know, Bedford as a destination for either D-Day, the Parkway,
Smith Mountain Lake.
an excursion to the lake. They don't want to stay in a hotel necessarily. They want to stay in a house. They're going, I would say 98% of them are going to treat that as their own home. And I don't think we can say no to a homestay, because we were perfectly agreeable to sticking hotels in the town up against R1 districts. I think it's a little hypocritical.
Exactly.
If we step back now and say, not R1, because I can tell you right now, if I were 35 with 2 kids, I mean,
Yeah, I'm not
I don't
saying
want
that.
to sleep upstairs downtown, you know, in an apartment. I mean, the whole purpose of
I
that.
don't even want to stay in R1.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, because when I
right, they
go to
want
the
to stay
beach.
because we have nice neighborhoods. Well, why do we have nice neighborhoods? Because we don't have a bunch of hotels on our streets.
Well, and that's why I think we've done our due diligence with the restrictions and the ability to close it. Plus it's still a conditional use. I mean, if they come in
It's
here
not
and
hard to get a
apply,
conditional use permit through, though. We know that.
but it can be done. But it's got to go through two bodies. First, they go to us just for a
And
recommendation,
again, I'm not against them. I
and
just
then
think
it
not
goes to
R1.
town
I mean,
council. I think R1 is the attraction, though.
Right, but it's attractive because they're nice neighborhoods that don't have mini hotels all over the place.
But once again, I think if enough neighbors show up, we've
And
seen
make
them, and make enough noise, they
Yeah.
get turned down. We've seen it happen.
I mean, I rent a
time and
house at
time
the beach,
again.
man. I don't want to rent a condo. They're garbage. I hate them. I want enough room that my family can go do their thing, and I don't have, I've got
Right.
3 kids.
At
and
the
I-
beach, that's a vacation spot. This is our home.
I understand, but
But we're promoting it as a
promoting.
vacation spot to come see the attractions that
I
are
mean,
here.
we all love Bedford just as much as you do, but at the same time.
I can see I'm not winning this argument.
I mean, like I said, I have relatives that have moved, that have come here and said, I will not stay in a hotel. I want to stay, somewhere, but there's nowhere around here to do that.
Well, it's post-COVID.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what sparked this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's what changed the entire, it's either, people are buying campers, they're going to campgrounds.
Yeah.
Which we've,
Right, we got that
we're in
coming
the
too.
process of.
Right.
Maybe.
The whole concept of homestay
If I
has
got an
become
Airbnb next door, I would consider leaving, yes, I would.
But-
really
but-
popular.
But back to the comprehensive plan, this body did review the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
It's not like the comprehensive plan has not been reviewed, so I will just state that fact. We reviewed it, February?
February of 2022, I believe it was.
So,
No, 23 of this year,
23.
yes. You're
Yes.
required to do it every 5 years. We were 2 months late.
and again, like I said, we want the citizens of Bedford to be represented. We want them to have a say in these things, but it takes people showing up too, and I get it, it seems to some people that this is rushed, but we've been working on this for how long? And I mean, nobody ever comes to these meetings except for us. I mean, unless it's something, a really hot button topic, and I wasn't here for Governor's Hill, so I don't know anything about that.
Well, it was a PRD, let's say
Okay.
that.
But what I'm saying is that we care about Bedford. This isn't just some arbitrarily, we want people to be miserable. But we really honestly have looked at all this and trying to do the best that we can to make this a better written document for the citizens. And it's just not gonna make everybody happy. It's like everything. I mean, I'm just not happy with everything. And as Darren, he's not happy with everything either, but we've tried to do the best that we can and follow the rules and the laws to make it a better town. We don't want this to be, crazy built up nutty town. I mean, we want this to be a thriving place that people want to come. I don't like to leave Bedford to spend my money. I like to spend my money in town. I like to go to the businesses, and I like to, feel like I have a vested interest in, hey, I spent my money in town, so, I mean, I'm looking out for the town as much as any of us are.
Well, my thought on it is that, we had a sign said, Bedford, the best little town. Remember that? There was a sign there. We cannot please everybody. We have to do what is right for the whole community. And what we are doing, trying to do to help y'all out as well as help ourselves. But, we can't please everybody. And we just have to go with that. We can't please everybody. But we're here to help and to listen to what you have to say. If you got something to say, outside before the meeting, fine. Let us just talk about it. That's my feeling in it. We are here to promote what is best for the town of Bedford and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. As far as the agricultural issue, I don't know. mean,
I
can you-
think that wasn't the reversion agreement that everything that came into the town was going to be zoned R1?
Well,
And
that's actually in the town code, in the zoning, or section 505, apart from that. So everything came as R1, so just keep in mind, we do not have an agricultural zone, but the R1 permits that.
So it's still
So, and we don't
permitted.
have a large lot zoning district. People can make any lot size they want as long as they have the acreage, but the minimum it could be is 10. So the R1 still accommodates agriculture. We've added a
With the-
Wasn't it
definition
part of the
for it.
reversion agreement, though? Didn't we have to do that, or did we?
I'd have to look at the date of the section 505 in the zoning ordinance where that
I
changed.
mean, we don't have anything that we could have brought it in anything larger.
We don't have an ag district, we don't have a large lot district.
I am concerned, though, he's right about the, I mean, because there's no public sewer out there, and so, I mean, they're definitely,
And it's all going to be based on soil. I mean, like I said, you could have, 12 100-foot lines, you could have 486s. It just depends on the soil. And that's going to really dictate, like you said. I mean, it is going to, the health department doesn't care if it's 10,000 square feet, because I worked there for 23 years. But they don't.
Is it possible on 10,000 square feet?
I'm just saying with a septic well in the house, that's hard.
Yeah, that's
For
what I was
10,000
thinking.
square feet.
Yeah. It's-
I'm just saying that is very hard. That you would have to have, because you have to be 50 feet
Everything has
off.
to be perfect.
You have to be 50 feet off the house with the well. You have to be 50 feet off a property line with if it's agricultural around the lots, you have to be 50 feet off with the well itself. So you have to have a 50-foot from either direction. So that's 100-foot wide already. So I don't see 10,000,
Yeah.
it's very hard.
Like I said, it's a minimum. It's,
Yeah, it's
It could
very
be
hard to have
50
a
acres.
10,000 square foot lot with a house, well, and a septic.
So short of creating a new zoning district that would be large lot zoning or creating an ag district, this is what you had to work with. And I believe one of these was just to streamline what you have without overhauling everything at that. So that's always, again, this can always be
Right,
changed.
things
As you
can be
mentioned, it's
changed
not
at a later
perfect.
date.
Yeah, and I fully expect that. After we use this for
Right.
some time, we're going to find out, oh, that didn't go
Right.
quite
This is
the
a
way we thought.
foundation.
So we're going to
Yeah.
look at it again. And that's what I fully expect this to evolve as it goes forward.
And the other thing too is if the people that own the agriculture, most of those people out there aren't selling their land. That land hasn't, I'm just saying, like, it's, it's just hard. 10,000 square feet without public sewer is just very unrealistic. It's hard with a half-acre lot to do a
And
well.
is Burwell headed out there anytime soon?
I do not believe so, but we are in conversations with them, and as we're launching our comprehensive plan, and that will be a guiding factor, is where will growth be directed so that we can be sure there is infrastructure. That's going to be the basis for that whole conversation going forward. And may I add in a couple of items, too, that I wanted to be clear on? So some of the things that you did not see were done by the town attorney in that section 201 had to deal with that as well. So everything that required an update to state code, you saw, you were in the real grass and really down in the weeds in this, and he kept to the legal side, so for that context. But I did want to let you know that it's recommended that we take the zoning fee schedule out. I believe that's Article 14. And keep our references to it, but we would take that out because council's going to have to separately adopt those fees outside of the ordinance anyway with a separate hearing whenever we have that. And then we can keep that separate. You wouldn't have to go through planning commission to do a zoning ordinance change for a fee change going forward. So I would recommend that we take the fees out for the future. And then I also wanted to update you on some information I had at your meeting on October 5th when we finalized the draft map at that time. We talked about the area out at Rough Drive and Earnhardt Drive, which is north of the railroad tracks at Macon Street. And we recommended that be R1 to, again, help with non-conforming residential uses because we've had some residents there who wanted to rebuild their house and couldn't because it's zoned manufacturing. So since that time, I've spoken with some large lot owners out there who are zoned M1 right now and they would like to keep their M1. They've given me a definitive answer on that. I've also spoken with the Economic Development Authority and they would like to also retain the M1 zoning designation out there in anticipation of some point closing on the Winnoa property to do that. So what I've shown you are three ways. The current zoning, it is M1, and where it's white, that was the land that was in the county that came in as R1 per code. But so it ended up looking all yellow after your meeting on October 5th based on staff recommendations. But what we're asking now is to keep it M1 where it's M1, and the new parcels that came in would also be M1, which is what they're essentially zoned in the county anyway. So it's not really a zoning change for them at that time. But I did want to bring that up because it does affect your map for consideration.
Do we need to change anything, or is it, this is as it's stated, or as the motion is out there?
Yep. Yes.
This map is.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it, so I want to be sure that you're aware of what that recommendation is to make sure your motion would include map,
Okay.
the map change, not just text.
Well, I don't have the votes, so no amendment for me.
So we need to do a new motion.
No.
No,
His
we have
original
to vote on
motion
the
was
old
just
business.
as
We
is.
have to-
I mean, I wanted to address everybody's concerns. I mean, we've tried, but you cannot make everybody happy. And it's not a complete rewrite. Read
it's
the
not
old one.
190
There's just
pages.
changes to the existing one.
And things have been moved around.
Right, they moved stuff around to clean it up, deleted, language that was ancient, that didn't need to be in there. It was
Yeah, there's
more
a
of
whole lot that's been
cleanup.
deleted, so it's really not,
Right.
once it's a final document, it won't be 190 pages. There's a whole lot that you don't even have to read.
Right.
And I think as far as what Lamar submitted to us, I guess we need to potentially change the verbiage on that. We're saying that
I
the
think
sign
6 months is
must be-
plenty.
I think 6 months is great.
Well, and the only reason I'm saying it is that if you read through what he's stating, is he has to go through VDOT to do that. So that's a permitting process that they have to get costs and budget, and then they have to go through VDOT according to his write-up.
That's correct. So they go through the town and for zoning and building, and then VDOT at the same time to put them back as they were. So there is some time that VDOT has to review it,
So
but for
maybe
the last.
what we need to say is, within that 6-month period, we would need to see proof of that permitting process has started with VDOT,
Yeah.
per this section 3, this VDOT section.
Yeah, something's happened to it. They've initiated.
But with still a
process.
time period
Yeah.
to which they have to have it cleaned up.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. If we
I
take-
can't.
If we change that.
He's got it here stated, the maintenance and repair of a non-conforming billboard, VDOT, you have to go through one of their departments in order to do that. I don't agree with 1 year. I think we keep it at 6 months, and you have to have proof that you are in the
Process within 6 months. I'm okay.
Well, you could be in the process earlier than that, and then just give them,
And I know dealing with VDOT,
Yeah.
I can submit it today, and I might hear back from them in 2 months.
Yeah.
I will honestly say
Yeah.
that is
I
true.
mean, it could be too, like I know at the health department, we had 60 days to review subdivision plats.
but these are non-conforming signs. We're not allowing any new ones.
Any new ones,
Yeah.
correct.
Just non-conforming.
Right. This is for,
This is not a sign that we really like.
correct. But I think maybe we do need to address that and realize that there's another entity that has to
Be a part of the.
be part of this. And we weren't aware of that.
And I'm fine with that too. For me, I would have just treated that as they were in process, because the zoning permit and building permits are only good for 6 months anyway, so we're already constrained by that. But if they're, I would think in good faith, working towards it, and they were, like the Monday after the one blew down on 460, I had a call from Lamar saying they were working on it and getting it done for that.
So do you think we need to make the changes?
Whatever you're comfortable with, I think clarity is always better, that it explains that they, within the 6-month period, they should have proof that they are working with VDOT towards the repair.
Mitigation. I'm okay with it.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean,
Do you need that to be made as a motion?
That would be a change to what you would like to move forward.
Where actually is that section?
Section 9, since it got moved, it's not 904 now, so I have to remember where the new special provisions.
16.2.
Either that or signs. Is it in signs or non-conforming? Well, we're trying to remember where it went. If it's in the non-conforming section or just under
816.
signs.
Was it 816?
Page 141.
I wasn't
Yeah.
far enough along.
I had 150.
You're 150.
150 right there. It's 16.2. Oh, yeah. Okay.
But there's a whole lot crossed out after that. But there's a whole lot added too.
This ain't my motion.
I don't know
It
mine
says,
either.
hold on, he says in his letter. 60, section 816? Yeah, 816 signs, so that is in the sign section,
That's what I'm
yes.
looking at here.
Yes.
Construction
16.20.
of signs.
It's in an odd place because it
Here it
comes
is,
at the end.
page 156,
Damage, this is on 156.
B3.
So 156,
I'm not even
Yes.
close to that.
Page 156.
B3.
take a whole lot.
And the only change you made there was to
It's
within 6 months.
B3.
Okay. See it? 156. Oh, it's the new one.
Yeah, I'm still in the old one. I had my book open.
Yeah, yeah, the new one, I mean, it's the new one's 156.
Yeah, 156.
It says if the damage or destruction is 50% or less of the fair market value, the sign may be restored within 6 months.
And if the damage is more than 50%, it's gone. You got to take it down,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Because these are the big billboards that we
Yeah.
really
Yes.
didn't want in town anyway.
So you need us to change the language to say substantial progress towards completion with proof of VDOT's, what?
You have to have proof of VDOT permit process has been
Initiated.
initiated
Within
or
6 months.
You're
or
gonna
have
give
a
them 6
copy, or
months?
you have to, or you have to provide copy of permit. Maybe that's what you need to
Need
do.
a copy of permit within
Yeah.
6 months. So that means that they've already made the application, VMB has approved
Yeah.
it.
Do you have enough, Mary, for us to say so moved?
I do.
Or do you want to change it and say you have to have a copy of your, well, just because you submitted a permit doesn't mean you have one.
I mean, you know more, I don't deal with
Permit
that much, so
approval.
I don't know.
Within 6 months?
I mean, that's,
I think that's stronger than what you first said, because where you just want to prove that they'd applied. If you actually have a
I
permit in
think
hand,
they
then
need
that's,
to have their permit in
I
hand
think they ought to
within
have a
6 months.
permit within 6 months,
Okay.
personally.
yes.
Well, then-
I'm just saying.
I mean, then that way we get rid of the sign.
Yeah, then we get rid of the sign.
But this is just a sign that we don't want anyway, so.
It still goes to the same
I mean, you still have some leeway, don't
This
you,
is
Mary?
a better way to
Even
get
if
rid
they
of the sign.
say, well, look, they
Right,
haven't
I
mailed the
agree. I mean,
permit
I'm not
within
trying
6
to-
months, you have some flexibility
Yes.
to deal with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so moved. She said that's what's all she needs. Anybody second? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, then we have to remove fees too from the
No,
ordinance.
does that need to be by motion, or was that already in there?
Look at it, the motion
And the
was to
map
move to
change.
recommend as was in total. So if you make any changes to that, it would be to remove the fees, change the language to the signs, and then
The map change.
the map change on Rough Drive.
So I guess the question now is we can table this until next meeting, get all these revisions in place.
I'd like to move it forward
No.
myself, but, I mean, because we
I
can
mean,
move it as
it's up
is.
to you. We
The-
can-
The changes can still be made,
Okay.
you know?
I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, the only reason that we made the motion is so we could discuss it. and move
Right.
on. Yeah.
We're done discussing.
Do we have?
you-
I'm
we-
okay
I
with moving
believe
it
we
all
have
up
to
as
vote.
is, making the changes later.
Yep.
Is
So
that
we're just going to
reasonable?
add the language of the copy of a permit will be required within that 6-month period in that sign section, and then the fees will be removed out of the ordinance in order for council to adopt those separately.
So we
And the
have-
map
And the
change.
map changes on
So we have
Rutherford.
we have three changes.
Right. So do we have to negate the motion that's on the
You can
table?
amend your motion.
You can amend the motion.
So, let's see, who made the motion?
Daryl.
I had made the original motion.
I will amend the
I was going to
motion
say, we need
to
to amend the motion.
remove the fees from the land development regulations, make the map change off Earnhardt and Rough Drive, and the VDOT permit must be issued within 6 months in, what was it, the sign ordinance?
816.20.
And then, then how long do they have to fix the sign after that?
The zoning permit and building permit expire 6 months from the dates of issuances. So
All right.
if there's progress being made, those would
So they
keep going.
potentially have a year? but-
Yes.
yeah,
Right.
they will.
Okay,
But those will expire.
so that's the motion, to approve it with those three changes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Yes, sir.
Would you like a roll call vote on that for one moment? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We can.
I'm not
Thank
good
you.
at it if you are.
Go ahead.
So Acknowledging Mr. Chairman, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Coles?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mrs. Gano?
Aye.
Mr. Malcolm?
Aye.
Ms. Bailey?
Aye.
Mr. Horn?
Aye.
Ayes have it, sir.
Are there any other items?
Did we have any unfinished business?
We did not.
Public comments?
You did that.
We did that.
That was public.
I don't think there's any more.
I think we're good to go.
All right. We are adjourned.